What's up, freaks? This is just me, and today we're gonna be exploring the best physique of Kai Greene's entire bodybuilding career. The Predator Kai Greene first competed as an IBU pro in 2005, and he went all the way until year 2016. I don't think he's retired, but he hasn't competed since, which, if you ask me, is quite a sad case and a loss of potential, because Kai is still in amazing shape. I hope he comes back, but to be honest, I don't think it's that probable that he will. Either way, in today's comparison, we're going to be considering the years 2009 to 2016, because before '09, guess what? I say this absolutely all the time about every bodybuilder. He was not big enough and developed enough. So we got a few honorable mentions. We got quite a lot because Kai usually comes in shows dialed in. He's always big and he's pretty shredded most of the times too. So here on the left we have the 2009 Olympia version of the Predator, and if I could have fit it on the screen, I would also have shown the '09 Australian Grand Prix, which was very similar to the '09 Olympia in my opinion. Both these versions were smaller, but they were detailed and well conditioned, absolutely fresh and dialed in. Alright, let's not waste any more time from now on. In the middle, I got the 2011 Shiro Classic. This is quite a famous physique for Kai, I would say, and it was an awesome one. And so was the 2011 New York Pro, which again was similar to the 11 Shiro contest. Both were big and peeled versions, but it has to be said they both had a bit of a problem with the midsection not looking sightly at all, mainly in the front double bicep shot. So that's the main reason the Shiro and also the New York don't make it to the final comparison, the Protruding Apps. And we don't have 2011 New York Pro on the screen. What's on the screen on the right, we have 2014 Olympia Kai. He was super huge in this contest. His conditioning suffered, but only a fair bit, so Kai looked really good overall, but not quite the best ever as I see it. Now take a swift look at the lat spread between these. '09 looks very good and well rounded. The same goes for 2011, the Shiro Classic. Look at the lats and pecs there. And the Olympia 2014 is really beefy. You can notice that in the arms, delts and quads. So all versions look really good as I see it. Next is the side chest. Although we're not judging these honorable mentions, we are just taking a look at them. In '09, Kai's sharp and he looks great in the side leg department, but in 2011 and 2014, these are thicker versions for sure. Look at the Shiro Classic, the shoulder and the chest, even the lower body, all are absolutely huge and monstrous. And we also have the back double biceps pose. In my opinion, he looks the best overall in 2009 Olympia, although the arms are softer than the others. Look at the arm to waist ratio, that's unreal. And he's more ripped than ever in the glutes and hams. In 2011, he's a horse, so big. And in 14, he looks solid. The peaks of his biceps look really eye-catching. So now moving on, and let's introduce the versions that are gonna battle it out for the best version of Kai Greene's career. We have the 2012 Olympia on the left, which was the first year Kai placed runner-up to Phil Heath at the Olympia. He looked probably more conditioned and cut up than ever before or even after. He was a bit leaner by default and not as full, but it was a great trade-off for him. Okay, in the middle is the 2016 Arnold Classic Ohio, which Kai won. He looked great and had virtually no problems. To this contest, Kai brought a supreme balance of mass and conditioning. He looked like an alien, even reminiscent of Ronnie Coleman from the back. And on the right part of the screen, we see another 2016 Arnold Classic version. That's the Arnold Classic Australia. It was, I believe, a bit after the Columbus, Ohio Arnold, and it was one of Kai's last contests. Also very nicely detailed and separated, but also unbelievably massive for a guy of his stature. Okay, let's go and judge the front double biceps. We have quite a clear last place in my mind. I think the 2016 Arnold Classic Australia on the right is last. He doesn't look bad, don't get me wrong, but the guns compared to the other versions lack a bit of muscle separation, thus not looking as impressive. The midsection is far from picture perfect as well, so it gets 3 points. Just as a side note, the sizing was quite difficult in this one with the Arnold Australia because the angle is not the same as the other versions. So I apologize if I messed up the sizes, but I tried my best. So anyway, in second place, I would have the 2006 Arnold Ohio, that's the middle one. The guns might be a bit bigger and better than 2012, but the lats of 12 flare out more impressively, the midsection looks a bit tighter, and the lower body is much sharper. So this might go to 2016 Arnold Columbus if you go focus on the massiveness of this version, but I give it to 2012 for the better cuts and better flow. And proceeding to the front lat spread. Here I would have the Arnold Classic Australia on the right last, although the midsection looks better than it did in the Arnold Classic Ohio. The pecs are simply the least impressive. In Australia, they don't look strided at all, and the lower body, yes, a bit more separated in the quads, but I give 2 points to the 2016 Arnold Ohio over Australia. For the overall better lower body as I see it, and the more strided pecs. Although that one has the worst looking midsection. Both versions are flawed though, and 2012 isn't, so it has to get 1 point. Here's the best V-taper and more impressive wings, the most shredded quads and strided lower body. So 2012 looks absolutely top notch in this front lat spread. Next, in the side chest pose, I have the Arnold Classic Ohio, the middle Arnold Classic, losing this pose because he doesn't look as defined and shredded as the two remaining versions. The chest and side leg look quite ginormous, but not ripped enough. Compare it to 2012, which is undeniably smaller, but also far more conditioned, no doubt. The quad looks glorious from the side. We can also see some details in the arm and shoulder department. Plus, I never liked the way Kai hit this pose because his butt is too far out and it makes his lower body look overpowering. And the way he leans forward makes his pecs look huge, but it does the same for his stomach, so this pose just doesn't flow, even though Kai looks really thick. Anyway, I'm talking about this because I feel like in 2012 he did the pose the best I've ever seen him do it. But either way, the first place still goes to 2016 Arnold Classic Australia on the right over 2012. Look at that version. It looks like a shredded monster in 2016 Australia. It's so massive, but still has unreal details and striations in the pecs and delt and side leg. Just looks like a stud, so 1 point to the Arnold Australia. Sorry I keep repeating that again and again, but I have to distinguish between the two 2016 Arnolds somehow, right? So going into the back development, the rear double biceps pose is first in line. The Arnold Ohio Columbus in the middle is last in this pose according to my judging criteria, and quite an easy last place. The glutes are not as shredded and strided, the midsection is spilling over a bit on the side, the back looks to be holding a bit of water, and the bicep peaks are not as noticeable and eye-catching. In second place, getting 2 points, is the other Arnold Classic. That's the Australia. As we already established in the previous poses, he's just not as ripped, although he's probably more vascular in 2016 than 2012. The flow of the pose in 2012 is unbeatable. The sharp lower body, crazy lower insertions, and mind-blowing peaks on the arms make this one of the best back doubles of all time, in my opinion. Well, not so incredible in the rear lat spread. In fact, not at all. In 2012, Kai looks wide as hell, probably because he's executing the pose differently, having his shoulders propped up and trying to focus on the width. But in my opinion, this execution doesn't suit him. It makes his traps look even more underdeveloped and washed out, so the edge in the lower body isn't enough to prevent 2012 from losing. It's closer between the 2016 physiques, with the back looking basically the same if we take into consideration the different camera angles. So the edge in the lower body, mainly the glutes of the 2016 Arnold Australia, is gonna give it the edge, even though it's close. Arnold Australia gets the 1-pointer here. So the side triceps, we have a more closed off execution in the middle on the Arnold Ohio in 2016, which is an inferior execution in my opinion. I don't like it as much. But even if we ignore the different posing style, the side leg is just not as separated and as it is in 2012, nor as massive as it is in the Arnold Australia on the right. The midsection of 2016 Ohio is protruding a bit either way, and the horseshoe is a little washed out, so it has to get last place. It loses this pose. Comparing the 2012 Olympia to the 2016 Australian Arnold, I feel like 2012 looks more aesthetic, and surely it's more cut up. But the chest of 2016 on the right and the arms and side leg look really jumbo size, and the midsection is in check too. So I have 2012 in second, and the Arnold Australia finishes first. It looks crazy in this pose this year. And we're getting to the end. Now the ab and thigh pose. Anyway, I don't enjoy sounding like a broken record, but the 2016 Arnold Classic Ohio loses this pose. Don't get me wrong, for a massive guy, Kai looks great in this pose. He's got a thicker waistline, but he makes up for it with his massively developed lats. A pretty decent ab setup, which is a good six-pack, although the abs are not the most separated. He's also got that famous quad feathering, but he's also got these attributes in the Arnold Australia in 2012, with a better midsection and better quads in my opinion. The 2016 Australia competition gets 2 points because it's not winning over 212. Bodybuilders usually tend to look better in the ab and thigh toward the start of their careers, and Kai is no different. He seems to have the tightest waist and be more aesthetic in 2012 than 2016, along with being more peeled to the bone. So 2012, 1 point, 2 points go to 2016 Arnold Australia, and Ohio gets 3 points. And okay, last pose. We're almost at the end. This is the hands on hip, most muscular. Not Kai's strongest pose, but I think he looks decent in it. He's definitely better off hitting this pose than the crab most muscular, right? 2016 Arnold Australia on the right is losing this time as I see it, not by a large margin though. I think this pic might not have been snapped at the perfect time, but even if we ignore that, his chest, abs, and wheels look the worst in this version in this particular pose. In my opinion, it can't really hold a candle to 2012 because this version looks incredibly shredded. He's got striations everywhere. But this pose isn't complete. His delts really don't look that good. They do in the Arnold Ohio. He looks to have improved them immensely, and the execution of the most muscular too. So the deserved 1 point goes to Arnold Classic Ohio to finish off this comparison. So I tallied up the points, and this was a good comparison in my opinion. Close, but not too close to the point where it's very difficult to decide on the winner. So in third place is the Arnold Classic from Columbus, Ohio 2016. It won a pose and got 19 points. So not too bad, but overall I don't think it was really challenging for the win in this comparison. Kai's lower body in this version was the worst out of these three versions in virtually every pose, although it still looked really good. And in some poses it seemed like Kai's conditioning wasn't up to par for a reason, so he was kind of inconsistent, it seemed. Okay, and in second, can you guess which version there is? It's the 2016 Arnold Classic Australia, so the other 2016 version. 16 points, 3-1 poses. He put up a great challenge for the winning version of Kai Greene for sure. This version was big as a house, and conditioning was awesome as well, especially in certain shots like the side poses. He looked crazy in 2016 in the Arnold Classic Australia. But it wasn't enough to knock off the victor in this video. That's the 2012 Olympia appearance of the Predator. Overall, in my opinion, the best version of Kai Greene we've ever seen. He had the least flaws this year due to his decent midsection and great arms, legs, and back. He was absolutely mind-blowingly shredded, maybe even a bit too much, to the point where he was a little flatter, not as full as for instance 2014 or 16, but this 2012 guy was just pure quality with the best conditioned muscle packed onto his frame. The physique was worthy of at least top 15 of all time, in my belief, if not closer to top 6 or something. It depends. Either way, it was quite a sight to behold. Too bad he does not have an Olympia championship won, but it just didn't play out that way for Kai Greene, unfortunately. So I think 2012 was the best, but let me know your own opinion of the best guy ever down in the comment section below. You might, for instance, think either of the 2016 versions were a bit more impressive, or 09 or 2011. I would love to hear what you people who happen to watch this video think about the outcome. And one more question. Are these videos too long? Because I'm just trying to cover everything that needs to be covered, but maybe I'm just, rambling around. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to watch some Kai Greene videos and also like and subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your day.